بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم. Okay, so we are on 66, I believe. Okay, so what we will do from next week, inshallah, is that with the time change, Isha will be at 8 o'clock and Maghrib will be like 5 o'clock. So we will meet at 7:30, inshallah, and we'll use 7:30 till 7:55 for practice. Okay? So even if you haven't practiced at home, this may be a good time to just come in and use this time to practice. And this would be like, this would really make sure that we are making progress. Then we'll pray Isha at 8 o'clock, and after that we will get together after Isha around 8:15 and go all the way till 8:50 or something like that. Does that work?
So we're going to start at 7 from now on?
No, 7:30 we'll meet.
Oh.
But that will be, we wouldn't start the lesson. We'll just use that for practicing the vocabulary. And then 8 o'clock, pray Isha, and then after Isha, like 8:15ish, we'll get started with the new lesson.
Oh, so not going to start after Maghrib?
Yeah, Maghrib will be 5 o'clock from next week.
Too early.
Yes. Okay, so let's begin today's lesson. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. قال له موسى هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا وكيف تصبر على ما لم تحط به خبرا قال ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا ولا أعصي لك أمرا قال فإن اتبعتني فلا تسألني عن شيء حتى أحدث لك منه ذكرا فانطلقا حتى إذا ركبا في السفينة خرقها قال أخرقتها لتغرق أهلها لقد جئت شيئا إمرا قال ألم أقل إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا قال لا تؤاخذني بما نسيت ولا ترهقني من عمري عسرا فانطلقا حتى إذا لقيا غلاما فقتله قال أقتلت نفسا زكية بغير نفس لقد جئت شيئا نكرا قال ألم أقل لك إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا قال إن سألتك عن شيء بعدها فلا تصاحبني قد بلغت من لدني عذرا فانطلقا حتى إذا أتيا أهل قرية استطعما أهلها فأبوا أن يضيفوهما فوجدا فيها جدارا يريد أن ينقض فأقامه قال لو شئت لاتخذت عليه أجرا قال هذا فراق بيني وبينك سأنبئك بتأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا أما السفينة فكانت لمساكين يعملون في البحر فأردت أن أعيبها وكان وراءهم ملك يأخذ كل سفينة غصبا وأما الغلام فكان أبواه مؤمنين فخشينا أن يرهقهما طغيانا وكفرا فأردنا أن يبدلهما ربهما خيرا منه زكاة وأقرب رحما وأما الجدار فكان لغلامين يتيمين في المدينة وكان تحته كنز لهما وكان أبوهما صالحا فأراد ربك أن يبلغا أشدهما ويستخرجا كنزهما رحمة من ربك وما فعلته عن أمري ذلك تأويل ما لم تستطع عليه صبرا. Okay, let's do word by word. Let's move fast. So we'll skip the words that we all know or we have seen several times. If not, repeat. You guys will be repeating 61, 66, 66. All right. Okay. فَوَجَدَ. Okay, so two found, right? They two found. So if it was just wajada, he found, right? With the alif, it's for dual. Wajada, the two of them found. Who are these two people? Musa al-Islam and his slave, right? His servant. Abdan, servant. Min, from ibadina, our servants. Ataynahu, whom we had given. Rahma, mercy. Min indina, from us. وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ, and we had taught him مِن لَدُنَّا, from us, ilma. So all of these are words that we have seen before, so that's why I just ran through it. قَالَ لَهُ, said to him, Musa, هَلْ أَتَّبِعُكَ, may أَتَّبِعُ. So this is تَبَعِين. This is also something we have seen before. أَتَّبِعُكَ, may I follow you, على, upon, أن تعلمني. So first you will identify the root letters, Ain, Lam, Mim. This ta is for you. The Nun Kasra we have seen several times is for me. تعلمني, so that you teach me. Mimma, of what? علمت, you have been taught. So this is something relatively new, but as you can see, this is passive form. So you teach me from what you have been taught. So ullim is a passive form that you have been taught. So doer is not mentioned explicitly here. Rushda, of guidance, righteousness. Qala, he said, innaka, indeed you, lan, never, tastati'a, you will never be able to. So this is probably new. So tastati'a, you will not be, you will be able. Lan is giving the meaning of not. Ma'iya, with me. So ma'a means with, ya is for me. Ma'iya, with me. Sabra, patience. Wa kayfa, and how, tasbiru, you will have patience, ala, for or upon, ma, what, lam, not, tuhid, you encompass. Right? So this is a new word, tuhid, or is it? No, actually it's not. So if you know, last time when we were looking at the description of the gardens, there was the same word, ahata, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think this is a new word either. Something we have seen before, so it's just a different form of it. Bihi, of it. Khabra, khubra, of any knowledge. Qala, he said, satajiduni. Okay. So sa is something for future. So in the future, tajid, you will find, ni, me. You will find me, insha'Allahu, sabiran, someone who is patient. Wala, and not a'asi, I will disobey. So ayn, sad, ya is for disobedience. A'asi, I will disobey. La a'asi, I will not disobey. Laka, your amra, order. Any questions? Qala, he said, فَإِنِ اتَّبَعْتَنِي. So then if ittaba'tani, you follow me. So taba'in for following, the next ta, which is in blue, is for you, ni for me. So if you follow me, fala, then don't, tas'alni, sin hamza lam for su'al, for asking, ta is for you, tas'al, you do not ask, ni, me. So you do not ask me, an, about, shayin, anything, hatta, until, uhditha, I present. Ha, dal, tha is to present, to narrate, to communicate. Uhditha, I present. Laka, to you, minhu, from it, dhikra, a mention. Fantalaqa, so they both set out. So because of this alif, which you see is in blue, as a pronoun, this means it's talking about they two set. Hatta, until, idha, when, rakiba, they both embark. So now it's talking about Musa alayhi salam and Khidr alayhi salam. Rakiba, they both embarked fi in a safinati, the ship. That's probably a new word. Safina, the ship. Kharaqaha. Kharaqa is probably also a new word. Don't think we have seen before. Kharaqa is to make a hole. Kharaqaha, he made a hole in it, meaning in the. What is this ha for? Yeah. Safina, right? So safina is a feminine noun. A sign of a feminine noun is this rounded ta. So that's a sign of a feminine noun, and that's why you're also using kharaqaha. If it was a masculine noun, it would say kharaqahu. Qala akharaqtaha. Have you made a hole in it? Litu. See, this is something we saw last time as well, right? Hamza for interrogation, to make it a question. So kharaqaha, you just saying, it's a statement, right? He made a hole in it. Akharaqtaha, have you made a hole in it? Litugriqa, see, the word li is for the purpose. So we were just talking about it, Mazin. Alhamdulillahi, so same li. Litugriqa, so that you may drown. From ghayn, ra, qa, qaf. Litugriqa ahlaha, its people. Laqad, indeed, jitta, you have done, or you have brought shayyan, a thing, imra, a grave. Questions?
Are you doing a revision or?
No, man, new stuff.
The pace.
Why am I moving fast?
Huh?
So repeat again.
The pace.
Oh, the pace is, okay, so I'm pausing on something that's new. If we have seen that before, then it's just a matter of practice, right? Because there's nothing to explain, then it's just a matter of practice. So I was saying before you came that what we will do is going forward with the time change, Maghrib will be 5 o'clock, right? So we come here at 7:30. So 7:30 till 7:55 is our practice time. So you want to use this time for practice, so please come at 7:30.
I thought it starts 7:30 today. You're saying to come early to see.
No, 7:30 from next week.
Oh.
Because then, yeah. So at 7:30 you come next week. So we use that 25 minutes and we'll just use practice. Even if you haven't practiced at home, that's fine. Let's use this time to practice. Let's, build vocabulary, work together. And then we pray Isha, inshallah, and after Isha we'll do the new lesson like this. And after the lesson, if you guys want, you can hang out, like we'll probably arrange some snacks as well, or what have you, hang out, use the gym, whatever. So it could be a good community building as well, inshallah. Qala, he said, alam, did not, aqul, I say. So if I say something and you want to talk about it or it doesn't make sense, I can pause, right? Because otherwise it's just a matter of practice. There's nothing, so I'm trying to break it down, and as I break it down, there's going to be a lot of repetition. So I'm just doing it fast, right? Because now we have seen these pronouns like hundreds of times already. Aqul, I say, innaka, indeed you, lan, never, tastati'a, you will be able to. So ta, sin, so tastati'a, you will be able to, ma'iya, with me. So I was just explaining last page, same thing. Mim, ayn, ma'a, for with. Ya for me.
What is with you? If I need to say with you, what will it be?
Yeah, you can say ma'aka.
Ma'aka.
Right. So remember the pronoun chart that we had? So ma'aka or ma'akum. So some people say, for example, Allahu ma'ak, right? Allah be with you. Right? So it's just some, parting words. Some people also use this. Sabra, have patience. Qala, he said, la, not, tu'akhidni, do not blame me, do not hold me accountable. Bima, for what? Nasitu, I forgot. So see, I'm just quickly pausing here. Where's the I coming from? Two. Otherwise it would be nasita. And if it's multiple, nasitum, you all forgot. Wala, and do not turhiqni, right? Do not be hard upon me. So rahaqa, I think it came last week or sometime before, rahaqa, and the ta is for you. So you do not hard be upon me. Min amri, my affair, what I did, usra, causing difficulty. فانطلق, same word, hatta, until, إذا لقيا, so same pattern, right? غلاما, a boy. So that's probably a new word. Ghulam is used for a young boy. فقتله, So he killed him. قتل, he killed who? Him. قال, he said, أقتلت. Right? Similar pattern. Right? Before it was خرقها, أخرقت, أقتلت. Nafsan, a soul, zakiyatam, pure. It's a young boy. Like, what could he have done to you? Why would you kill him? بغير, for other than nafsin. So there's no accountability here. It's not, murder for murder situation. Why did you kill him? لقد, certainly, جئت, you have done شيئا نكرا, evil. قال, he said, ألم أقل لك, did I not say to you, إنك لن, never تستطيع, will be able, معي صبرا, same pattern. Same words actually. قال, he said, إن سألتك, so now he's saying, okay, if سألتك, if I ask you, I is coming from to, ka is coming from you. Yeah. عن, about, شيء, anything, بعدها, after it, فلا تصاحبني, صاحبة, from companionship, تصاحب, you accompany, me. قد بلغت, indeed, you have reached, min, from, ladunni, from me, udhra, an excuse. So I'm accepting to this deal. فانطلقا حتى إذا أتيا أهل قرية, the people of a town, استطعما. So here, like sometime the word, the letter seen, you will see it's coming here for people are asking or people are trying. Okay, so تطعما, so ta, ayn, mim is for food. Istaqama, they ask for food. Alaha, its people. Fa'abaw, but they refused. So abaw is they refuse. They too refuse. Sorry, they refuse. And we also see the word aba, right? When Allah talks about shaitan. فَأَبَى وَاسْتَكْبَرَ, so he refused the command of frustrating and he became arrogant. وَكَانَ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ, or something to the effect, and he was from the disbelievers. So they refuse, and that yudayifu, dad yafa, to take someone as guest. Dayif, so they refuse to take them as guests. Huma, remember from the pronoun chart? Huma is for?
Them.
Well, what about whom? So whom is for more than two. If you want to be specific, you can use huma. فَوَجَدَ, they found, فِيهَا, in it, جِدَارًا, a wall, يُرِيدُ, it wanted, أَين, to, يَنْقَضَّ, collapse. So there was a wall that was just about to collapse. فَأَقَامَهُ, so they fixed it up. قَالَ, he said, لَوْ شِئْتَ, had you wished, لَاتَّخَذْتَ, you could have taken عَلَيْهِ, for this work, أَجْرًا, because we were not fed and they refused to, you could have asked them to feed us. قَالَ, he said, هَذَا, this, فِرَاقُ, parting, separating, بَيْنِي, between me, وَبَيْنِكَ, and between you, سَأُنَبِّئُكَ. So Noon, Ba, Hamza is for the news, the affair, the details. Same thing we have is عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ عَنِ النَّبَأِ الْعَظِيمِ. Same word, Noon, Ba, Hamza. Soon I will tell you بِتَأْوِيلِ, the interpretation, the details, the reasoning. تَأْوِيل, مَا لَمْ, for what? Not, تَسْتَطِعْ, you were not able. عَلَيْهِ, on it, sabra, you were not able to be patient. I'll tell you about this, but this is it. We're going to part now. So now he's going to give him the details. Amma, as for as-safina, to the ship, فَكَانَتْ, it was لِمَسَاكِينَ, for the poor people. Masakin are poor people. يَعْمَلُونَ, they were working free in al-bahr.
The lead, what is it for?
For. So,
Limasakin.
so the safina here, a safina belonged to the masakin.
So I'm just trying to look at the meaning.
Mhm.
So the lamb is it belonging?
Yes, so belonging to.
Because in the English there's of the poor people.
Yes.
Of. Okay. Thank
Of.
you.
Yes, so the ship of the poor people. Right? So sometimes you would say them using for. It's also used for the purpose. Li, for the purpose. So what's the purpose?
Belongs.
Yeah, so When Musa alayhi salam was talking to him, he said, لِتُغْرِقَ. Have you made a hole in it? لِتُغْرِقَ, with the purpose of drowning them. So that same word was used, li. Li for sabab, li for the cause. And li is also used for ownership. So li masakina, it
shows possession.
Yes, it shows possession, ownership, and it's also used for sabab, the cause. So in the case of alhamdulillahi, praises belong to Allah. Allah is the one who is deserving of all the praises. Here, li masakina, so as-safina to li masakin, the safina, the ship, that was for the masakin. يَعْمَلُونَ. What's the situation of these masakin? They were working fi al-bahri, in the water, sea. فَأَرَدْتُ, so I intended أَنْ أَعِيبَهَا, I caused defect in it. Okay, now look at something we'll talk about when we're doing the reflection, the language he's using. So I intended to cause a defect in it. Okay, meaning khidr, right? وَكَانَ, and it was, وَرَاءَهُمْ, after them, Malik, a king. يَأْخُذُ, he was seizing, kulla, every, safina, ship, ghasba, by force. So these are new words. Ghasba is a new word. Malik is relatively a new word, but most of us know this. يَأْخُذُ, he was taking kulla safinatin ghasba. وَأَمَّا الْغُلَامُ, nothing new so far. فَكَانَ, so what the situation was, أَبَوَاهُ, his parents. مُؤْمِنَيْنِ, they were believers. فَخَشِينَ, and we feared. Khashina, from khashya, we feared. And that yurhiqahuma, he would overburden them. So this word, ra ha qaf, is something that came earlier today. Right? When Musa alayhi salam is talking to Khidr, that, I forgot, so wala turhiqni min amri usra. It's the same thing came up before. So as you practice, you will see this thing. So Mazin, as I was telling you, you need to identify the roots. So here the roots is ra ha qaf. Let me actually show you guys. So see, once you identify that, then you're like, okay, where have I seen this word before? So that reminded me that, okay, I think we just saw that. And so this is, it's, if you use this website or the app that we have talked about, and then you go under concordance, it will show you, see? So that's the one I was talking about in verse number 73, which we did today. قَالَ لَا تُؤَاخِذْنِي بِمَا نَسِيتُ وَلَا تُرْحِقْنِي. Raha qaf, turhiqni, you burden me from my affair, from my situation, usra, hardship. Here, فَخَشِينَ أَن يُرْحِقَهُمَا. So he would overburden them. So look at the differences here. So this is a combined word. There's three types of information that are here in these type of words or this type of structure. One, the verb. Okay, so the verb is rahaqa. Okay, which means to overburden or burden. Okay. Now in the first scenario, who is overburdening? You. Right? Whoever you're talking to, he is overburdening. Right? That's coming from ta. Two. So this attached ta in the beginning is for you. Okay?
Huma is then. So it's separated. Like
Yes.
it's apart from.
And in the next situation, it's you. Ya dhamma, you, which means he. Okay, so let's pause. Let's make sure everybody is same here. So statement number one, the verb is to overburden ra ha qaf. Everybody sees that? You see that? Sure. What's your name?
Nadim.
Nadim. All right. Okay. So the first letter ta dhamma in the first one is for you. So you do not overburden me. In this case, you have not the English you, but the ya dhamma you, which is he. Okay. And then the object in the first one is ni, which is me. So you do not, so I'm talking to someone, you do not overburden me, I would say turhiqni, la turhiqni. Okay. In this scenario, I'm talking about someone else, and the object is also someone else. So he will overburden these two people, which is his parents. Questions? So that's why it's important to, because the pronouns you will practice, it will become, okay, second nature very easily. okay, the ya, the tu, the huma, the hum, the ta, the na, and all that. And then you just have to identify the root letters of the word or the word, and then, okay, where have I seen? What other word comes to my mind? So that's just a matter of practice. Toghyanan, transgression. It's probably a new word, I think. Toghyanan, transgression, wa kufra, disbelief. Fa'aradna, so we intended. See, last time he said I intended. Now he's saying we intended. And that yubdilahuma, we would change for them rabbuhuma. All right? Okay, let's take a look at this. Yubdilahuma. So if you just look at this word, what's the root letters? Right. So letters ba, dal, lam. To change. Okay, badal, to change. Yubdil, he changed. For them. Right? So he changed for them. Yubdila huma. So he changed them or he replaced them or for them. Now who? Rabbuhuma. Their Lord. So in Arabic, usually the doer is, if you're mentioning the doer separately, you will mention it later. So yubdilahuma rabbuhuma means their Lord will replace for them. And sometimes you don't mention it because people know from the context what we are talking about. As in, for example, in this case, yurhiqahuma, the doer is not explicitly mentioned because he had already been mentioned. Who is the doer here? The ghulam, the boy that was killed. So let's take a moment to see you guys understand what I'm trying to say here. Or I can repeat it in a different way. So here, yurhiqahuma, he may overburden them. The he is not explicitly mentioned near the word. He has been already mentioned before. However, in this scenario, Rabbuhuma is explicitly mentioned because there was no mention of it recently. An yubdilahuma, so that he changed for them who, right? Rabbuhuma, their Lord. Khayran, better, minhu, than him, the boy that was killed. Zakatan, in purity. Wa aqraba, and nearer. Rahma, in mercy, in affection. Any questions? Okay, wa ammal jidaru, as for the wall, fakana. See, similar pattern, right? So it was li ghulamaini. It belonged to two orphan boys. Oh, sorry, two boys, yatimaini, orphan. So ghulam is singular, ghulamain, the dual of ghulam. So two boys, yatimaini, the two orphan boys, yatim singular, yatimain, the dual form. Fi in al-madinati, the town, wa kana, and it was a situation, tahtahu, underneath it. Underneath what? The jidar. What was it underneath it? Kanz, a treasure. So that's probably a new word. Kanz, a treasure. Lahuma, for them. Okay, so sometimes the li can also become la, as you see in this situation. Lahuma, for them. Wakana, and was abuhuma, their father, salihan, righteous. فَأَرَادَ, so intended, رَبُّكَ, your Lord. Okay, so again, same thing. فَأَرَادَ, intended, رَبُّكَ, so the action, the one doing the action is mentioned later. فَأَرَادَ رَبُّكَ, so the رَبُّكَ, your Lord intended, and that يَبْلُغَ, they reach, the two yatim, the two boys, they reach أَشُدَّهُمَا, their maturity. وَيَسْتَخْرِجَ, and they take out, kha, ra, jim, to take out something. يَسْتَخْرِجَ, so they take out something. What? كَنْزَهُمَا, their treasure. رَحْمَةً, a mercy. Min, from. رَبِّكَ, your Lord. وَمَا, and not. فَعَلْتُهُ, I did not do it. And out of or upon. Amri, my accord, my matter, my decision. Amri. ذَلِكَ, this or that. ta'wilu, interpretation, the reasoning, the understanding. مَا لَمْ, what's not just there. You were not able to, alayhi on it, sabra. Alright, so that's 82. Now we can do some reflections on it. Any questions about the words? Anybody? Okay, let's discuss this. So inshallah, I think in today, maybe one or more session we'll complete Surat al-Kahf. After that, I'm planning to start Juz 29. If you guys have any other preference, let me know. But that's what I'm thinking. We'll just do the whole Juz 29 after this. Hopefully you guys will continue, right? Okay, 66. So Musa alayhi salam is asking Khidr alayhi salam that he wants to accompany him and he wants to learn with him or from him, right? So many different lessons that can be learned from here. One is the importance of seeking knowledge. So someone may be an expert on something in one domain or few domains, but that doesn't mean that they know all the domains. And there's nothing wrong if one wants to grow and learn, they have to be humble and realize that, look, I don't know everything, and I can go and seek knowledge about a different domain from someone else, right? So that's really important because so sometimes there are people who are older and they don't want to learn something from someone younger, right? Or vice versa. Something really important that nobody knows everything. And it's a good thing to know that I don't know about this domain or this subject. Let me go and learn about it and be humble about it. Second thing is, we talked about this earlier as well, to ask the people of knowledge, to ask the right person about the right thing. So sometimes we also see this in the community or vice versa, that people may go and then say, oh, they look at their science professor or their math professor or engineering professor, they're like, okay, mashallah, he knows about this, or business professor, okay, and he has experience in this domain or this subject, and then you start picking up on their understanding or their own personal views about religion. Right? So that's not a wise thing to do, and vice versa, right? So you don't want to necessarily go to any generic imam and say, okay, let me get some advice about psychology or mental health or relationship or marriage, or it may or may not. So just because someone has one title, you have to see that is the person suitable to help you with the problem or the opportunity or the domain or the subject that you're trying to get help about. The importance of companionship, right? Being in the right company, surrounded by people of knowledge or people of practice, people of action, that can go a long way. So that's something else to also understand. And that's why I think now there's a lot of culture of online learning, which is great. We should definitely take benefit of that. But it cannot supplement actually coming in and putting in the effort, in-person effort. He said, so he warned him, right? So something is also something important, like from a companionship perspective, teaching perspective, to warn someone of the challenges. What challenges may come up in this scenario, right? So this is how we'll be doing it. Are you ready for this? Or proactively, someone can also say, okay, I want to apply this knowledge or learn this knowledge or gain this experience. Let me figure out the pros and cons to make sure that I'm ready for what's to come. And one of the things that he said that, look, where patience is hard is you don't know what's coming up. So you see something from one perspective, but you don't know the blind spots that you have, and then you can't be patient. So that's just something else to be aware of, that's a very common cause of someone not being patient. However, Musa alayhi salam had firm intention, and as we saw earlier, right? وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا. Do not say I will do this. He's saying, inshallah, if Allah wills, I have firm intention to be patient. And I will not disobey you. I will learn from you. I will tag along with you. I will follow you. And I don't intend to disobey you. And I have high resolve that I will be patient with you. But inshallah. So he set out the rules that, okay, if you follow me, then do not ask me about things until I mention it to you. Wait for me to explain them to you. Ask about it later. I think this is another very good thing about delaying something and being patient with it. And this could be really, really helpful in many, many different scenarios, whether it be business, whether it be, husband and wife, any other relationship. But sometimes we just become very impatient and something goes wrong and boom, you just want to discuss that right away, fight that right away, and having that quality of parking things. So you don't like something that happened, not everything has to be addressed right away and at that point, because people may be in different mindset, they may be different emotions going on, maybe one of the spouses is busy with something else, and you're bringing up a topic and then boom, right? That's when clashes happen. So sometimes you might make an observation of something happen and park it and have a specific time to discuss those things. So that can, something that can work in many, many different scenarios, whether employee, employer, spouses, family, parents, children, and then having a specific time where we will discuss these concerns that we have from each other. So parking something is a really, really good skill in general in life, and this is what this verse reminds me of, to be having patience and park things. Okay, so these are my reflection. As I said, our goal with the reflection is to use that and to remind of different situations, different principles. I'd like to hear from you all as well and see what it reminds you of. I'm going to also put up our questionnaire in case people have forgotten. So these are some triggering questions, some facilitating questions to think about as you reflect on verses. All right, so anything from these 4 or 5 that comes to your mind?
What does it teach me about powerful and smart mindset? Right? I like the transition when Musa alayhi salam was with the young boy. Musa alayhi salam was the teacher and the boy was the student. And now here, Musa alayhi salam is the student and Khidr alayhi salam is the teacher. So, and how humble Musa alayhi salam was in learning, right? And being patient about the whole situation.
That's beautiful, right? So, because you may be in a position where you are always teaching, or people are looking up to you and you're teaching, and then when you kind of put yourself in an uncomfortable position, right, then you have to start from scratch, or you're probably the new guy in the class or the new girl in the class, and then you're learning from scratch. So that requires that humility and that mindset shift that, look, I don't know this thing, but if I put in effort, then I will also become a master of this knowledge, or I'll acquire this knowledge. Anybody else?
So, is it with respect to that particular verse or from everything?
No, I mean, yes, these 4 or 5 that we just talked about.
So anyway.
So that's the idea, right? Because the reason we are doing it is obviously one is to, use this time and have this discussion, and we walk away with a different mindset, right? Hopefully we get a different lenses or a reminder as we walk away out of the class. And the second thing is to get used to it so that we do it daily and on a personal level, and also perhaps also start something as a family thing. 5 minutes, let's take a few verses and let's discuss it together, right?
So what I see there, as you were reciting, or as I've read the verse in the past, and still but for me, is Allah does not create somebody, no matter how special you are. Let's look at the position of Moses, of Prophet Musa. How special he is, yet there are some things Allah did not even allow him to know about. He asked him to go somewhere else to learn it, which is quite fascinating for me. I always wonder that even though he is the messenger of Allah, and Allah still asks him to go out and learn from somewhere. This is not a kind of verse coming from the Malaika Jibril in Jeremiah. So, and it's not even coming from, and Allah is asking me to go out to look at somebody else to learn, which is very wonderful. Can you go back to the slide where the bullet points? So, and of course, we know who are being talked about here, both Prophet Musa and what's his name? Khidr, rather. So, yeah, and the qualities which he has also mentioned, like you said, the teacher said in his own speech, you have to be very, very patient with me or with him then, because he knows what it takes to learn what he knows. For a new person, like you said, it's going to be very strange, even Like in this class, I'm having some reservation, which I've made some of them clear, especially when you also said you'll be going to choose the 29 and 30. Now, for me, it's all new, not because I can't read, but I don't even know what it's all about. But yes, I just have to be patient, trust the process, and like you also invited some question. If I do have, I can raise, which is very good, but it's also part of the process of being patient and to see what's coming ahead. So I think so far, those are the things I can pick on.
Good, Jazakallah khair. And as you were talking, this reminded me of something else. And I think that's also something that comes as we discuss together, that you may say something that may make me think of something else, and vice versa and whatnot. And it's also about enjoying the process, right? As you were saying, when they look, Musa alayhi salam is going through this exercise of learning, right? Had Allah wanted, he could have just, for Allah, anything is possible. Kun fayakun. He plans it, he says it, and boom, it's done. Right? Same thing with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He practiced, he read Quran, back and forth to Jibreel alayhi salam, and so on and so forth. So sometimes we're like, oh, we just want to acquire something, and boom, it should just happen. And so it's the process of going through that journey of acquiring and that transition of either acquiring knowledge or becoming something else or becoming better in something. It requires that effort and that consistency, and that journey is what helps us become stronger and whatnot, and we should be fine with it to adopt that, like, as I'm on a journey, as opposed to just like, okay, I just want, it is a finger tap and boom, light bulb, and then something should just happen. So not like that, but actually acquiring that information and then working consistently on that.
I just wanted to add to one of the other questions. So I wanted to comment on who or what does Allah love, what he does not. So what he loves is, Allah loves obedience, submit to the will of Allah, right? So in this case, we're seeing that there's, Musa alayhi salam is obedient to, shows his obedience to his teacher, right? And he respects his teacher, and he's like a guide to him, right? So
Good. Okay, Nadeem, you want to add anything? No? The next one, be ready. Mazen? Okay. All right, okay.
I'll get ready for the next one too. I'll get ready for the next one.
Okay. Okay, so then this event happens, right? So they're going on this thing, and he does this action, right? So these are, if you, okay, Musa alayhi salam does this, right? So from an action perspective, we see that 3 types of calamities would come up. One is, a calamity in wealth, right? Then the second calamity is, from a receiving perspective. So there are some people who received a loss in their wealth, right? So imagine the people who are actually, sailing the ship. And they see, oh, what, subhanAllah, there's like some sort of a hole happened, and boom, like our ship is defected, right? My car broke down, or I lost my job, right? So that's some sort of a calamity that, because obviously they probably don't know that Khidr alayhi salam did that, right? They just saw that, okay, something happened, and I have now a loss in my property, in my wealth, or in something that's related to my business. So you see some sort of a loss in our wealth and what have you. And then in the second way, the calamity is a loss of a life, right? And that's something that we can face in our lives, either something to do with a life, a relationship, or wealth. And then how do we deal with it? So from our perspective, it reminds us that, look, we don't have the full picture. We don't know what's to come in the next 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, however long we will live or our children will live, and so on and so forth. So having this trust in Allah, you will see it from a different, that's a mindset thing, right? It gives you a different mindset, yes. Is it painful? Yes. Is it bad? I don't know. If I react good to it, and I hope that, the same thing, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, right? We belong to Allah. This car that broke down, it belonged to Allah. The job I lost was from Allah for me. Now it's gone. Okay, it was from Allah anyways, right? And to Him we will be returned, right? And then continuing on, right? Allahumma astakhlifni. Oh Allah, replace this with something better, right? So you lost a job or the car broke down. So replace this with something better for me, and and reward me for it. So I'll reward me for the patience, for the calamity. That's a beautiful mindset to have, right? That I realized it was from Allah, Allah took it, or some change happened in what I had, and now I hope from Allah that He will replace it with something better, and I also hope for the reward from Allah. So that's the mindset, and then realize that look, something good is going to come out of it. I don't know what. Yes, it's painful, but hoping for that goodness from a receiver's perspective. Now, from the interaction between these two, alayhim assalam, but he said, look, this was the deal, right? And then Musa alayhi salam saying, look, it was first time, I forgot, and give me another chance. What did I drop?
Cha-cha.
Okay. So this is another thing, like being gentle and giving people chances, right? Being easygoing, that's another thing. So if you're a teacher, a parent, or whatever in capacity, and someone wrongs you, being easygoing is a good thing, is a good characteristic. So they continue, and then it happens again, right? And now it's like really, really serious, much serious than what happened before. So now it's like, okay, that's it, right? Okay, so this is now the second chance, right? But sometimes you just let go of things, and sometimes there will be consequences of negligence and not, staying on the deal, on the contract. So in this scenario, it was like, okay, if you do this again, that's fine. Then this is it. That's the end of it. So if I drop this again, imagine that you're on your own, man. Don't drop it again. All right, so before we go into 7 to 7 and onwards, any observations from you guys?
Verse number 73.
Mhm.
And Musa alayhi salam is taking responsibility, saying, forgive me for I forgot. Whereas the boy in the previous verses, he says, oh, shaitan made me forget it.
Hmm.
He's taking responsibility and accountability, not blaming anyone, but himself. That's what's
Good, mashallah, very good point, right? So, yeah, because so even though shaitan may be a cause, or other people may be a cause, sometimes, oh, my friend made me forget, or, he distracted me, she distracted me. At the end of the day, we are responsible for, being accountable for what we have committed, right? Because he committed, right? Satajiduni inshallah sabiran, right? And I will not disobey you. So he had this commitment that, you take me as companionship, I'll be like that. And now he's taking accountability of that. Beautiful. Good. And that's also a good point, right? That even when you're apologizing to someone, realizing the mistake that you have made. So that's a great communication style here, that you are taking accountability of it, and you're asking someone to let it go this time. And then next time it's like, okay, let it go another time, but if I do it again, then you can let me go.
So when he says, do not make it too hard for me to follow you, what does it mean?
So meaning like, okay, like I made one mistake, right? So technically, that was a condition, right? So he could have said that, okay, that's it, Assalamu alaikum, right? But he said like, okay, give me another chance, like let me try again, right? So same thing, like for example, in our learning scenario, like, we have, as an example, you have, different exams, midterm and final and quizzes and whatnot, in a school system. A hard thing would be that, okay, there's only one exam, it's in and out, right? If you fail it, okay, you have to repeat the whole class again, as an example, right? So it's saying, be easygoing with me and let me, give me another chance, essentially speaking. Okay, anybody else? Okay, all right, so now I'm gonna, before I speak, I will extract information out of you guys. So now we are on the last scenario. Is it? Yeah. No, we are on the second scenario now.
You are reading the interpretation. The meaning, you are reading the...
Yeah, of the second scenario, right? So in this scenario, what happened? So why was the boy killed? What can come out of someone losing someone? right? I think it was mentioning the dua, right? So part of the dua is to replace with someone better. So in this scenario, so imagine the parents, right? Now, if the parents probably made this dua or what have you, they had this sort of mindset that, you know, Allah is taking our son. Now, instead of them going away from Allah, being disobedient, you know, asking the question, why did Allah do this to me, and so on and so forth, they were probably, you know, careful and patient and so on and so forth. And Allah gave them another boy. And that boy was better in terms of his caring of the parents, in terms of the mercy, being merciful to the parents, in terms of being a righteous child, and so on and so forth.
Excuse me.
Hmm?
Why is it we wish that their Lord, we as in one, because Prophet Musa doesn't know what's going on, and why is it wish?
So, good question. My guess is that it's talking about that I did this, and this was also Allah's intention, right? So Allah made this happen through me. Okay. However, that's something. So this type of question comes up. Great. So we can just click on Learn. We can go even see if we have any comments. Oh, no comments here. So sometimes you'll see this comment, right? So I don't see any comment, but that's my understanding of it. That it's talking about that Allah made it happen through him. Okay. Now we can go and check here quickly. Maybe we'll find it. Let's do some research together. Where is Tafsir? Saudi is not open. So this is volume 5 and 6. I think today we are on volume 6, maybe. Okay, this was 73, right? So if you open this Tafsir Saudi, and you just do Control F, Command F, you do 18, colon 73. Boom, takes you there.
It's 83, I think. 82 or 83.
All right. Okay, let's see if he had mentioned it.
81. It's on 81.
Mhm. Okay, they don't mention it here either.
It's not elaborated.
Okay, I'm sure it may be mentioned in other tafsir, or I may have heard of it somewhere else. However, so that seems to be the meaning here, right? The other thing that I was going to mention in terms of how he, when he does the attribution, right, as the sister pointed out. So nasidu, I forgot, right? When Musa alayhi salam is talking about it. And when he says, okay, so فَأَرَدْتُ أَنْ أَعِيبَ. So when he's mentioning this word, so I intended to cause a defect in the ship. He's saying I intended, right? It's not appropriate to say that, you know, we intended. Okay, because the action is not like a really, you know, from the narrow-minded perspective, the result is yes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the plan is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you're just talking about the word, it's not appropriate in good manners to use the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or to associate a seemingly bad action or bad word with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Here he's saying to replace them, right? So that's something that you can definitely associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah intended to replace them. Okay, so that's some of the, from a communication perspective or attribution perspective, that's the lesson here. Okay, so here now going on, anybody has any other comments for the second scenario?
You know, I just wanted to mention here, it's like we're not getting the entire story, right? Of a hole in the ship, wouldn't that endanger everyone in the ship? Why would it just be targeted towards the child?
No. So, okay, no. So these are three different instances. So the hole in the ship, it just became defective. The ship became defective. Probably they fixed it. What have you didn't? From what we know, the people on the ship did not die. So, right? So it was a hole. It was some sort of a defect. We don't know that the people, and most likely they didn't die from the people of the ship. Did not die, as far as we know.
So it wasn't caused by Khidr.
It was. So he made a hole in it, but hole doesn't mean they maybe fixed it. It became like a damaged ship, right? Maybe they swam to the shore. I don't know. Something may have happened. Maybe there are revivals.
It's not necessarily supposed to be at the bottom. It may be on the body of the ship, on the side of the ship.
Yeah, exactly.
And they just have to patch it.
They patch it and what have you. There was woodwork done or something, right? So as far as we know, like there is nothing that implies that the people of the ship were physically harmed. So what he's saying here, actually, good point. I just glanced over it.
Just a defect.
Yeah. So he's saying that where is it? Amma Safina, right? Okay. So this is belong to the Masakin. So I intended to cause a defect in it because the king of that vicinity, the government was taxing it, right? They were just acquiring all the ships for whatever reason. However, they wouldn't go after defected ships, so the Masakin would have that ability to continue their livelihood. So had he not done that, so this became a cause of the Malik to leave the ship alone and not take it. Does that make sense? So that was the idea here, that it became damaged, so it wasn't good enough, so he didn't acquire it, which means now they get to carry it onward and they get to do their business with that.
And the boy would have.
No, the boy is a different scenario. So see what happens. Yeah. So if you look at this, so this situation happened, and because that's what's going on, right? I told you not to ask me questions. Like, I forgot about it. Let me go. Let's continue. Give me another chance. Just paraphrasing the whole conversation here. Then it says fan palata. So they moved on. They continued the journey. They moved on until they came to this boy. So they took the ship. They got to a different place or whatever. They continued their journey, and then they met the boy. So boy has nothing directly to do with the ship. So all these three are three different instances.
The hole had nothing to do with the hole.
Yes, and then they met the boy. They did what they did with the boy, and then they moved on, and then they visited another town, and they were hungry. They asked for food. Like, we're not feeding you. And then they saw a wall that was about to fall down. So Khidr alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam, they fixed it up. They didn't ask for any payment. So three different, isolated incidents.
So they don't really reveal the cause of the death of the boy, how and who kind of killed him.
Yeah, so Khidr alayhi salam killed him.
How and so we don't know.
We don't know how he killed him. We know why. I don't know, man. You don't have to make it that graphic.
I think I saw it that it was strangling.
He killed him, man. I don't know how he killed him. Okay. And you can think of the easiest way, inshallah. So he killed him, and the reason is now he's explaining the reason. But this was a test that Allah. So see, all these things that happen to us is a test from Allah, right? So now it's a test from the parents. Like, will they be patient? Like, how will they react to it, right? I mean, we have a similar, story from the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The companion said, that the husband came after a long travel, and the wife didn't tell the husband, like she received him well, right? She received him. She had prepared food and all that, and she received him well, and then she told him about the death of their child in the morning, if I'm not mistaken, right? And how they were patient, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then blessed them with better children going forward, right? So this is a test of, like, if Allah gives you something and then Allah takes it away, how would you deal with that? So that's sort of the test that happened with them, and as a result of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a much better child. So sometimes we don't realize that what could have come after, right? So as Allah is saying that, this is what could have happened, is that the boy would have been very hard for them and would become a cause for not just leaving deen, but also for them to potentially leave the deen as well. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So in this scenario, okay, so there's many different things that are hidden here. So the wealth belonged to two yatim boys. Okay. What do we know about their father? Righteous man, righteous wealth. And Allah is mentioning that his righteousness also became a source of protection for children. Right? How Allah protected their wealth. Because otherwise what would have happened had the wall fallen down? The treasure would have been exposed, right? And then people could have tried to steal it or manipulate it. Okay, let me have a share, I'll maintain it for you, take my piece, whatever can have happened, right? So Allah protected them. So when they reach the age of maturity and understanding, then they would just go and take out their kanz by themselves. Okay. Any questions so far? So obviously this is like a beautiful thing. Like one key lesson is to trust in what comes your way. Like trust in because results are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Any types of results, right? Someone living, someone dying, some sort of stuff happening to work or utilities or inventory and so on and so forth. But what's in our hands, obviously, to be patient, to be righteous, to do the right thing, being thankful in times of goodness or ease, and being patient in times of hardship. Okay, so how are you guys feeling? Should we continue? You can do till, that's the story of Dhul-Qarnayn. We have good 10-15 minutes, so we can continue, might as well. Okay, everybody good? Alright, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ويسألونك عن ذي القرنين قل سأتلو عليكم منه ذكرا إنا مكنا له في الأرض وآتيناه من كل شيء سببا فأتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ مغرب الشمس وجدها تغرب في عين حمئة ووجد عندها قوما قلنا يا ذا القرنين إما أن تعذب وإما أن تتخذ فيهم حسنا قال أما من ظلم فسوف نعذبه ثم يرد إلى ربه فيعذبه عذابا نكرا وأما من آمن وعمل صالحا فله جزاء الحسنى وسنقول له من أمرنا يسرا ثم أتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ مطلع الشمس وجدها تطلع على قوم لم نجعل لهم من دونها سترا كذلك وقد أحطنا بما لديه خبرا ثم أتبع سببا حتى إذا بلغ بين السدين وجد من دونهما قوما لا يكادون يفقهون قولا قالوا يا ذا القرنين إن يأجوج ومأجوج مفسدون في الأرض فهل نجعل لك خرجا على أن تجعل بيننا وبينهم سدا قال ما مكني فيه ربي خير فاعينوني بقوة أجعل بينكم وبينهم ردما آتوني زبر الحديد حتى إذا ساوى بين الصدفين قال انفخوا حتى إذا جعله نارا قال آتوني أفرغ عليه قطرا فما استطاعوا أن يظهروه وما استطاعوا له نقبا قال هذا رحمة من ربي فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكا وكان وعد ربي حقا. I think we will be able to complete Surat Kahf next time, inshallah. That's good. And they ask you, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ. So we've seen this before, about Dhul Qarnayn. So Dhi is the owner, the possessor of Al Qarnayn. Okay. قل say سأتلو, I will recite, I will tell you, I will inform you, عليكم, to you, minhu, about him, ذكرى, a remembrance, so narrate you some information about him. So this was the people of the people of the book. They were asking the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam these questions, right? About the young people in the cave, about the Qarnayn, and so on and so forth. Inna, indeed we, makkanna, we established him. Sorry, makkanna, we established, lahu, for him, fi, in al-ard, the earth, wa ataynahu, and we gave him, min, from, kulli, every shay'in, thing, sababa, a means. So we facilitated the means for him to achieve a lot of things.
But when reading the Quran, it's not going to be broken like this.
Yes.
So it's difficult to know which words stop when, like this is sababa. I can't even say if sabab is, I'm trying to say, when you're reading the Quran, it's all sentences. You can't tell which is a word or where something stops. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, help me understand.
So, like here, we can see there is a word, there is a meaning. But when doing the actual recitation, you can't tell the difference between where the word stop. Like for instance, is it either rahmatun or ahda or rahmatun? To be able to tell the meaning for a learner, that's what I'm saying.
Here, so see if you move your mouse.
It points out, it highlights on the top.
That means I have to use this half instead of the other one, right?
Yeah, for practice, right? But then when you start recognizing it, like it's with practice, right? So today, like, so that's what I'm saying, like if you do one word a day, right, you really, so here's my suggestion, right? So one option is you don't do anything at home, you just come here half an hour earlier, basically 7:30, and that's the time you will learn a few words during our practice time. That's option one. Option two is every day you pick one or two words. Use the app that we, not even this thing, we just use the Al-Quran app on the phone that I sent a link to in the email. And you can go through it and then it will show you, okay, what other places it comes. Like, how we took some time today on the word raha. So you could do that and then you kind of become used to that particular word. And then if you want to take it to the third level, let's say you're reading Quran for 20 minutes every day. Maybe 5 minutes you read with this form where you have verses and you have the word by word below. So you're at least getting used to some of these words. Maybe you're not really befriending them, but you're at least seeing them, it's going through your eyes. And that's how over time you will start picking it, right? So for example, now hopefully, alhamdulillah, it comes several places in Quran, but now you know what it means. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you very much.
But you have to try it, and then you can tell me, Zubair, it's not working, right? But if you don't try it, then you can't prove me wrong. Okay, so وَآتَيْنَا مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ سَبَبًا, so we gave him a means for various things. فَأَتْبَعَ, so he used these means. So again, this is emphasizing the use of means to ends. حَتَّى إِذَا بَلَغَ مَغْرِبَ الشَّمْسِ وَجَدَهَا تَغْرُبُ. Oh, sorry, we're doing this. حَتَّى until إِذَا بَلَغَ. So these three are all words that we just saw before as well. So you can see that it's not new. Maghrib is a setting place. This is also not a new word. It came earlier when we were looking at the story of the people of Cave. And same Maghrib al-Shamsi, the sun, wajadaha, he found it, taghrubu, see? Ghayn raba, setting place. Taghrubu, it was setting, fi, in, aynin, a spring, hami'a, dark, muddy. Wajada indaha, and he found near it qawman, people surrounding it. Qulna, we said, Ya Dhul Qarnayn, O Dhul Qarnayn, imma, either an tu'adhiba, you punish them, wa imma an tattakhidha fihim husna, or you deal with them in goodness. So he had this option as a king, as a conqueror, what to do with these people. He said, Qala amma man zalama, whoever wrongs, who is unjust, so we will punish him. Thumma, and then yuraddu, he will be returned. Ila, to Rabbihi, his Lord. Fayu'adhibuhu. Nu'adhibuhu, we will punish him. Yu'adhibuhu, he will punish him. Who? Allah will punish him. Adhaban, punishment, terrible. So basically, depending on the people, we'll deal with them in justice. So he wasn't transgressing. He was a just king. Wa amma, and as for the one who believes and does righteous good deeds, all these are easy words. Falahu, so for him, jaza'a, a reward, al-husna, good reward. وَسَنَقُولُ, and we will say to him, will speak to him, lahu, to him, min, from amrina, our matter, our command, yusra, will be easy going with him. ثُمَّ أَتْبَعَ سَبَبًا, then he took other means until he continued, until he reached a place where the sun was rising, and he found therein that the sun was rising on people that lam naj'al, for whom we have not made for them against it any shelter. So it was rising on people that we had not made any, that Allah has not made any shelter for them. And then we can look at the explanation in Tafsir. What does that mean, not having a shelter? So like this, and we have encompassed, right? Ahatna is also not a new word, has come several times now. Ahatna, we have encompassed, bima, with what, ladayhi, with him, khubra, of information. Thumma atba sababa, he continued to use these means that Allah has given him, hatta, until he reached between these two mountains. As-saddain, the two mountains. So that's probably the new word here, the two mountains. Wajala, he found min dunihima, besides them, another community. La yakaduna, it was like that they were not understanding his speech. Yafqahuna, from fiqh, fa, qaf, ha. I think we saw this last time or the one before as well.
Was this
Hmm?
when Khidr and Moses were speaking?
Sorry, repeat that?
When Khidr and Moses were speaking.
Was it? No, I
Yeah.
think before.
Oh, okay.
So they said to him, Ya'juj, Ma'juj, okay, I'm just trying to see what's the new word here. Kharjan is a reward or an expense or compensation. Ala, upon taj'ala baynana, between us, baynahum, sadda, a barrier. That's a new word. Okay, ma makkanni, makkan is to establish. Makkanni, what Allah has established me. Makkanni, established me. Fihi, in it, Rabbi, my Lord, has established me. It's better than what you guys will offer me. So he wanted to do it without any compensation. He's doing it for the sake of Allah. So you can take compensation. You may not choose to take compensation. It's up to you, right? You can do things voluntarily. You can take compensation. So but what I want you to do is to help me. Ain, ya, noon. Okay, fa'inuni. So you all help me. This is also something that we see somewhere else in Quran. For the same word, wasta'inu, and seek help. Ain, ya, noon. Wasta'inu bis sabri was salah. So same letters there. A'inuni. So assist me, help me, bi quwwa, with your strength. Ajal, I will make bainakum wa bainahum radma. I'll make a strong barrier between you guys. So do this. Atuni, bring to me Zubair al-Hadid, sheets of iron, hatta, until he leveled them up, sawa, to level them, bayna sadafain, so the two cliffs that he found, he leveled using these iron sheets. And he said, okay, blow in it, unfukhu, from noon fa kha, is to blow. Unfukhu, and this is a command. So I think a few weeks ago we talked about the verbs when they come in the command format. Hatta, until إذا جعله نارا, it made it like with fire. قال آتوني, so bring to me, أفرغ, this is another new word, أفرغ, I will pour, عليه, upon it, molten copper, which is قطرة, قاف, ba, ra. سرابيلهم من قطران. Right, so that's somewhere else it comes, describing the punishment of the people of hellfire. So that they will overcome it, wahara, to overcome, to appear over, وَمَسْتَطَاعُوا لَهُ نَقْبَ, to go through it, noon, qaf, ba. Now he is attributing it to قَالَ هَذَا, this is rahmah, a mercy from my Lord. فَإِذَا جَاءَ, so when it comes, wa'adu, the promise of my Lord, جَعَلَهُ, he will make it, dakka, he will level it up, وَكَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّي حَقًّا, and the promise of my Lord is true. So that's a quick run of these words. I want to do quickly recap some of the things here so we can complete it inshallah. So things that stand out to me, Again, facilitation from Allah. Allah will give you the means. Now you have to take those means. These means could be, access to manpower, the wealth, knowledge, skills, and then use it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's one of the key things, to think about what Allah has given me and how am I using those resources. And then the second thing is you acquire more resources, as we saw from the story of Musa alayhi salam, right? So he's using what Allah has given, he's doing the da'wah, he's teaching his people, he's being patient with them, but he's also increasing his skills by going and seeking knowledge. So that's one thing to think about. How am I utilizing what Allah has given me, and what am I doing to grow in my skills and my knowledge, or acquiring more skills, more resources, but also what am I doing with what Allah has given me. Sometimes we think about, okay, I will go for Hajj when Allah has given me, that makes sense, or I will become more religious when I've grown older, or I'll do more charity when I have more money. But the question then becomes is, what am I doing today with my resources today? So it doesn't mean that if I have resources maybe less than what I aim to have, but I can still use what I have today to do good with it, right? And that's being part of being thankful. And if you are thankful, then Allah will give you more resources. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Another thing here is to quickly realize that Quran is not the book of science, meaning that it's not a precise scientific journal. Okay, and some people take literal meaning and like, okay, how can the sun be setting in this water and this and that? Okay, that's the wrong way of reading Quran. Okay, because it's not a book of science. It is going to use the language that people understand. So if I ask Nadeem, what time is sunset today? What will you say?
I don't know.
You don't know? Can you Google? Okay, Mazen, what time was sunset today? Around
6:04.
yeah, 6 or 4-ish. Okay, but then Mazen will be like, no, you know what? I went to my science class. Sun doesn't set. It's just the earth moving. Sun doesn't set. The sun doesn't rise. But when we talk between human beings, people understand what sunset means. So sometimes people like read into it very literally and like, oh, how come Quran is saying that? Well, it's not saying it. It's not a science journal that it will be precise language. So then we see another lesson here is, how do you deal with when you have authority? Will you be just? Will you randomly punish people, or will you be a just king, as we see in this scenario? And this is another good reminder, right? That look, human beings can punish you for wrong, but the final punishment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even you may escape the human punishment or the society's punishment, you may run away with a crime, but how can you run away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Okay, then it's also a reminder about Ya'juj, Ma'juj, so there's a lot more details about it that people can read in Tafsir if you want to read about it. That's one of the fitna that's to come at the end of time, and how Allah used this man. Because see, if Allah wanted, He could have done Himself, but Allah uses people to establish justice on earth, to establish protection for people, and that's what we need to think about. What can I do to serve people? What can I do to bring justice to people? What can I do to establish the deen of Allah? And not thinking, okay, Allah will do it, I'll just make dua and Allah will do it. Yes, you have to make dua, but what efforts am I putting in to bring about those things? And like as a simple example, we were talking about da'wah the other day, right? So people who are meant to become Muslim, they will become Muslim, regardless if you and I do anything or not. The question is, do I want to be part of it? Do I want to be part of inviting people to Islam, or giving nasiha to Muslims to practice Islam, and so on and so forth? And again, taking all these means, right? Learning about these things which are scientific. How do you construct this strong wall, and metal, and melting and malting and all that stuff, right? So acquiring these knowledge is also part of being a strong Muslim and a strong believer. And then lastly, not to attribute to yourself, realizing that all this has been facilitated to you by Allah. And yes, you will bring this temporary ease and protection from, for example, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, but when the order of Allah comes, yes, it will collapse. Yes, Qiyamah will come. But again, it becomes like, okay, this is something that I put forward and I made happen during my lifetime, but realizing that it's from the mercy of Allah that I was able to do these things. So there's a lot of mindset concepts here as well. That when you become successful, who do you attribute that success to? So I know I just ran very fast with it, with the Isha coming in. And perhaps I'll take some comments on these one from you guys next time, because Isha is like in 1 minute. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Do we know from the story